Welcome to Mind Coast, everyone. I hope you've all been doing better since we last met. Let's begin with our reflection. Intention 16. The world versus the spirit. Have you noticed that in almost every sense, the kind of life that the world has defined as most successful is opposed to what a life of faith is supposed to stand for? The priorities that drive the world around us are in large part self-serving and inspire that goodness without a potential return is absolutely meaningless. Yet those who walk with Christ would say just the opposite is true. That same divergence exists when it comes to how each lifestyle frames our self-assessment, where one is marked by comparison and quantifiable achievement, while the other by a self-realization that we always hold room to improve ourselves. In every aspect of our existence, through which what drives our character can be revealed. These two natures are fully incompatible with each other, and that's not by mistake. So, what significance lies in their fundamental distinction? Before going further into this discussion, it's important that I provide a more specific description of what the world is meant to represent within this context. That being, every person or collective entity that embodies and promotes self-gain as a passage to human glory. For simplicity, it's basically the opposite of what we've been cultivating here at Mind Coast. The people with the most money in this world are also the people with the most notoriety, and that alone gives them an audience and credibility in most people's eyes that isn't easily damaged. Oftentimes, they'll use their platforms or are presented with exclusive opportunities to share what they've grown certain to be the reasons for their success, and what others should do to obtain similar fortunes and results. And those assets are so illustrious and enticing that just wanting them is enough for most people to give their faith away to. But if you really think about what most of these people have to say, how much of it can actually be put into practice by the people who are listening? The definition of greatness that the world supports is among the rich and notorious, who would credit their own ability and initiative above all else for the attainment of such status, from which the world takes in and responds with the belief that achievement, as such, also largely depends on how much they exhaust their own opportunities and efforts. Sure, it sounds good and believable to be highly prosperous or hear from a person as such that hard work and talent is what got them to the life they now relish. But the actual truth, which exists beyond that incomplete narrative, is that the very same talent, effort, and motivation doesn't flourish the same way in a different environment or without the same support or under different circumstances. This world won't hesitate to determine our importance from how much we've managed to gain for ourselves, but it's not likely to show consideration for what makes each of those human experiences diverse. Not until we meet its standards. That's why so many people feel the same way about their own life, that it doesn't matter without reaching that coveted spotlight. But when it comes to faith, everything that forms its basis is directly opposed to what the world stands for. Its very foundation is that us human beings are forever removed from deserving glory. That's not a ridicule against the celebration of innovation and excellence, but to glorify one because of such feats is to believe that their humanity is of a superior quality. Having such a reverence for any person is something that doesn't have a place in a life of faith, where excelling in ability doesn't equate to having more intrinsic value. Instead, what we have chosen to live this life by is that there is always room to grow as a person, and the most important growth doesn't lie in what we manage to attain for ourselves with our abilities, but in the character that we develop and uphold with our willpower. Success in this life isn't established in comparison, and it can be realized without physical abundance. But most importantly, there's no talent or circumstantial requirement for its journey to fruition. It can be realized by everyone. So does that mean that there are two contradictory truths at play in reality? Well, it'd be more accurate to say that there are two distinct sets of priorities that we can choose to live by. But what we're all subject to is that spiritual priorities and worldly priorities can't coexist with each other. A choice must be made for one or the other. At Mind Coast, we believe that the right choice is faith. And for anyone here who doesn't know why, it's because with that choice, we don't miss out on anything. With faith, you can still have great ambition and desires, just tempered with the understanding that those things alone don't bring completion to our human experience. We can chase the same goals without feeling the need to match our growth with anyone else's, or be so rigid to where we can't accept our efforts unfolding differently from how we envisioned. It gives us a simplicity that we can't find anywhere else. Because if in our efforts, all that's left for us to do is trust in God, then we can take comfort in that assurance. But if that's something you just can't accept, then that's the same as choosing the world's estimation of you as your own. Maybe you'll still end up achieving your goals, but will they still be enough for you to be fulfilled when that time comes? Wouldn't it feel better to be at peace throughout the labor of the journey and wherever it ends up leading to? Wouldn't it be better to feel that no one else's accomplishments makes them worth more than you? That choice is for each of us to make. With great affirmation from my own personal experience, I can tell all of you that where you expect, or even rigorously prepare to be, isn't always the position in life that you find yourself. That's just how the world works. But in Isaiah 55, God says, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." For us, that means even without understanding how we came upon the path we're currently walking, there is a purpose to be recognized and a salvation to chase after. So pray with all of your heart, in the morning, at night, whenever your heart is joyful or heavy, and wait for peace to envelop your soul. The peace that lets you know that everything will work out just fine. Thanks for listening, everyone. Feel welcome to join our community, and I hope we meet again. Peace.